All right. We should have, I hope, on Zoom, Julie Moyer. Hi, Julie.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Hello.
Julie, I think you should. Oh, good. That's great.
Okay.
Hi, welcome. I know you are here today to interview for one of the vacancies or the vacancy on the Sustainability Commission. And over Zoom is the same way as if you were in the room. We're just going to ask you to say a few words about uh, what you think you bring to the Sustainability Commission and why you would what you would bring and why you want to be on it. That's it. Those are the two things.
Okay.
I'll ask you a few questions if anyone has them.
Sure. So I think my background is in healthcare and nursing, and I took a sabbatical about a year and a half ago. And to really, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My screen changed really quickly. So I took a sabbatical about a year and a half ago to do the Master Gardener program through the University of Missouri Extension. So I completed that, started working at Forest Relief, or I should say volunteering there. And really my interest is kind of crescendoed from there. I also volunteer at the Knolls at the Missouri Botanical Garden, and have paid much more attention to what's going on in other communities on social media, like Columbia, Missouri Sustainability. Um, their page is full of great information, and I've noticed a change with the city as well. There were a lot of posts that included Sean Finnegan that I noticed. So I just want to give credit to her because I think, she's done a great job for the city. So all that to say, my husband and I got an electric vehicle this year. We applied for the MSD grant for landscaping. We're like all in on it, and so I think, my interest has not peaked or anything. I have the time, I have the energy, I have the interest. And I feel like I have the community connection with these organizations, to help bring that to whatever they can to Webster. I know one of the EcoEd lectures included Billy from Forest Relief, and I was very happy to see that. I wasn't able to attend that Arbor Day event, but I was, emailed him about it and was happy to see him there. So I think that's a little bit about my background and my interest. I think I have kind of this combination of, nonprofit experience and community experience. I'm on the board of the Webster Groves Garden Club. So, I'm able to work with, multiple walks of life, you could say, and I'm comfortable doing so.
Sure. That's great. Does anyone have questions for Julie?
Not for me.
No sense.
Julie, we're going to take it easy on you tonight.
Okay.
We do have one more person interviewed at our next meeting, so it may be a few weeks before you hear anything. But
Sure.
Thank you very much. And I'm just going to throw this out for future reference. If for some reason you're not appointed to sustainability and we have an opening on green space in the future, would that be something that you're interested in as well? Or is it pretty much
absolutely.
just sustainability? Okay.
No, either one. I think they've,
Okay.
kind of done a little bit of homework, looking into both commissions, and I think either one would be a good fit for me.
And they often work together, which is good.
Yes, yes.
All right, Julie, thank you. You're welcome to stick around, but if you log off, no one will have no feelings hurt. I promise.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm going to take off.
Okay, thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye. Okay, does anyone have anything they want to review on the regular agenda? I just, so you know, we are going to pull off consent agenda the resolution considering the Mr. Nolan for the municipal judge position. That needs to be its own thing and have its own vote. So that
Still
is one
tonight.
thing. Still tonight, just not on the consent agenda. And then the other thing you'll notice, the pride flag, we'll talk about it at the time, our process, but there will be a motion and a second necessary for that is when we come to it. But even though there's not an actual ordinance or resolution around that. Anybody else have stuff on the agenda?
No.
Can you go back to the pride flag? There won't be a resolution. There's no vote.
There will be a vote on a motion to fly or not fly the pride flag, which we typically do in conjunction with Pride Month.
That part, I just didn't understand the process.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, the process is relatively new, and we'll explain all that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, meeting updates. Emerson, you want to start for us?
Sure. We had our first meeting of the Stormwater Management Advisory Commission, better known as SMAC.
Is that how it's gonna go?
I like it. All right, we gotta get better. But it was a good meeting and, it was a good meeting, all individuals as a whole. I think that's the commission, they got, backgrounds in civil and environmental engineering, floodplain management, public works, sustainability, science, education, native plant restoration. So I think we got a good, well-rounded, commission that things going real well.
Good. Do you have anything?
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Eco is tomorrow, 7 p.m. at Blackburn Park. It's going to be, Vincent Hunig is speaking about bird sanctuary and about volunteerism. So 7 p.m. Blackburn. And that's all.
All right. Yep. Okay, I just thought of two other things, so. Okay, but they're fast. Mr. Davis.
Good news, the best news, first of all, we have signed our police CBA with our union members.
Excellent.
That ratified yesterday by both sides. So happy that has been accomplished, and we're ready to get back to work on everyday items and not negotiating anymore. And that's great news. We're working on a joint press release with the union members to go out hopefully tomorrow, joint press release in city and the FOP. Some of you already noticed, but we did a soft website launch last week.
Yeah.
We were holding off on notifying anybody, just to make sure everything was working the way we thought. Jordan did a fantastic job of shepherding that project over the last several months, and everything looked like it was working in the test environment. But we sent it live on Thursday, and found a couple little things that needed to be done. We had some photos that were higher resolution than needed that was slowing it down a little bit. So we lowered the resolution on those to speed the website up, and I'm sure we'll still find a couple little kinks here and there, but we are going to be announcing that to the community this week in the What's Up Webster that's new. It does look a lot different. It's many of the same pages are just presented in a new way, that are coloring much cleaner. It's more mobile friendly. It's set up so you can really look at it on your phone and see everything in a much better presentation.
I guess when you look at the resolution of pictures, it was kind of got jarred on the phone a little bit, but honestly, I signed on to, I got the wrong site. That's the truth. Yeah, it was very, very pleasing to see that new website. So great job.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Great
thank you,
job.
Jordan.
So,
All right.
and then we started a survey last week for the South Elm Street and multi-use path project. And in just a few days, we're just shy of about 90 submissions on that. So we'll let that survey percolate for another week or so and close it down sometime mid next week. So we'll announce it again in this week's newsletters and such too.
Do we do anything to outreach folks on the survey like that who aren't online all the time or at all, or?
So everybody that had come to the original open house and gave us their contact information, we sent them all emails to all those people individually, and then it's online other than that. But no, we don't have a paper version to do right now. We have done that in the past on certain things, but we did not do that for this one.
It's good.
Yeah.
But that's not good.
All right. Katie? Yeah.
I've done.
All right. I have a few things. I had the website on there, but we've already done that. Gordon Center dedication. I think we're all calling it the Benny now. Is that? It was really quite good. And our Parks and Rec staff, given the threat of rain and the last minute decision to move, did a great job getting it all set up, especially considering there was another event coming in right after that. So kudos to Katie and her crew who were over there doing that work. And our colleague Karen Alexander did a great job as the MC for the day. HPC met, approved one demolition. It was a unanimous approval. Sounds like it was a house that had seen better times. And other than that, talked a lot about how we can reprint the brochures for the historic walks, which seem to be, we're depleting their availability, I guess is a really complicated way to say we're running out. So they're going to try and figure out we know the Historical Society provided the content. We're not so sure who paid for the printing. And so I think Joe Rodriguez was very helpful in trying to figure out how we're going to sort through that.
When's the last time?
I'm not sure anyone knows that either.
Oh, wow, like a long time ago.
Yeah, I think there was a really large run that had been used for years and years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have RSVPs for the Community League dinner. Thank you. We have a full table for that evening. I sent an email about Wear Orange for Gun Violence March, which will be on June 7th, which starts at 1 o'clock. 2:30 is then the shift for volunteering at the art fair. So if you plan to go to both, you literally go from one to the other.
So the actual walk and the reading of the proclamation is at 1 o'clock.
The walk starts before that because the walk starts, I think it's going to start at Webster Groves Presbyterian Church and go down. I think it starts so they are planning to arrive and do the program at about 1.
Okay, where is it?
At Emmanuel Episcopal Church.
Okay.
We'll get an across. Yeah, we're supposed to get an actual written invitation this week at some point.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't call Julie, but I don't know if you saw my email or not. What time?
No, I was in church on Sunday and got asked about the proclamation, which is why I knew I was going to be out of town, so I wanted.
If it's
to.
at 1 o'clock, I am able to do it. I think I've walked.
Yeah.
Is this the third or the fourth one? Is there? Yeah. I think I've walked several times. So I can read the proclamation.
Okay, well, we're going to figure out. I'm glad we have enough people there to definitely do it. So that's great. I think that's all I have. So why don't we, David, you moved right on.
I did. I didn't know if I could take Councilwoman Alexander's seat. I didn't know if she was going to be here.
She's going to be here. Councilmember Hasselmeyer probably isn't. So you can take whatever of those 3 seats you want down there. And
She can throw me an elbow.
Yeah, she can.
If
She really wants it. Yeah, so we'll start with the SS4A implementation grant.
Sure, yeah, not good on this one. SS4A implementation grant. It's on tonight's consent agenda. We've talked about this more than a few times at council meetings. We're actually putting in the application in the next, I guess we have to have it in the next couple of days. I just wanted to throw it out there, let you know, we're asking for about $9.1 million, which would require a $1.8 million match. But that can be both in kind as well as cash. We're asking for a number of things. It's actually more than just an implementation grant. It's 2 grants in one. It's a supplemental planning grant. So the grant that we have already, there's more money available, so we can ask for more planning funds for that, and then implementation. The planning items that we're seeking would be a citywide speed study, which is just what it sounds like. An asset inventory system, which would enable us to better track all of our street signs and street lights and signals, sidewalks, all those things, so that we can, in the future, when we're looking for like maintenance or replacement, we know what we have, right? The transportation mobility plan, which is a continuation of the complete streets policy that you approved at the previous meeting, and safe routes to school plan, which is, again, is kind of self-explanatory. Implementation projects would be a number of radar speed feedback signs, which I'm sure you've seen those pop up in the last couple of months. The police had gotten those ones we have now through a separate grant. Potential new sidewalk installations, which we've been talking about several times now. That's why you approved the sidewalk study. Traffic signal upgrades, which can be everything from timing to new lights to something that they call well, I won't go into the acronym, but basically when you go hit the crosswalk, it's called a leading indicator. It lets the crosswalk go first, so people get that head start before the light goes green.
Right there.
Yes, I've crossed there many a time. Rectangular rapid flashing beacon installations, which that name is not intuitive, but I'm sure you've seen them around the region. You'll see a crosswalk with a sign on either side that says, with an arrow pointing down and little flashing lights. That's what that is. And then lastly, LED stop sign installations. And that's the stop signs that have the lights that go around them just to make them pop out to folks a little bit more. Again, this is an all in support of the comprehensive safety action plan and getting down to 0 deaths and serious injuries over the next several years. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have questions?
No,
Go ahead. The implementation things that you just listed, those were general things for anywhere in the city. We're not specifying
those are
anything
anywhere, yeah.
specific
So
right now because
the CSAP, the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, identified just those areas where there were high injury network.
Mhm.
But these can go anywhere, and they are obviously that informed where they're going, but we are going beyond that.
On the inventory, that you mentioned, is that something that can also be used for vehicle inventory, or is it just for things on the street inventory?
Well, all we've thought of it would be like infrastructure assets, but I suppose, it's basically a database tied to GIS. So there's really no reason that it couldn't go beyond that.
Except the vehicles move. GIS.
You would have to assign them to a location. Yes.
Because there's been a need that's been brought up before, right? Is a better way to track vehicles.
Of course,
I heard inventory and just thought.
now, the grant is only going to pay for as it relates to CSAP, but that's not to say that there might not be some flexibility that we could piggyback.
So the matching money is more than $1 million, and some of it you said is in kind, some of it is money that we'll have to come up with. Can you elaborate a little bit about where that money might come from?
Well, you would have to obviously authorize that spend.
But I'm assuming
Yeah.
you have ideas.
Well, of course, we have reserves and then capital budget, capital improvement plan. Because some of these are just that, they're capital improvements to our existing infrastructure. But we'd have to, I guess, narrow that down a little bit and figure out exactly where the money's coming from, which pot, once we get approved. We're asking for this $9.1 million. That doesn't mean we're going to get the entirety of it. We could certainly get a portion of it. This is going to be a very highly competitive grant because there's not a whole lot of assuredness that there's going to be another one following.
Right.
We feel more comfortable with the planning grant. That one's not quite as competitive. Everybody wants money to build things, though. So,
yeah, makes sense.
We'd likely tag a lot of the funds. You can hit street improvement funds for some of it. You might even be able to hit park improvement funds for some of it if it's crosswalk beacons like adjacent to Blackman Park is one location we're looking at. So you could hit some park improvement funds for that, and then obviously just the capital improvement fund. And then if all those didn't get touched or there wasn't available funding, then we look at reserve funding after that.
Is it sharing a percentage? So that if we get
the
last.
20% cost share, yeah.
So what type of in-kind?
Staff time, supplies, rent. It's not a whole lot of rent, but for the folks that work in the SS4A project. For instance, I'm sure you know, like Dr. Martin, her salary is in kind. A portion of the hours that I dedicate to SS4A is in kind.
Okay.
Same with folks in finance, public works, you name it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Does the grant envision? So right now we have 2 people on staff through SS4A. Does that envision them continuing, or how does that, or do we even know yet?
We did. We are asking for 2.5 people,
Okay.
which is what there is now.
Okay,
But the roles will be evolving because it's no longer a study, it's actual implementation.
Yeah.
So the thinking is the one person that's the community liaison will become more of a project manager to oversee the actual projects. And then the public affairs person, while they might have a little bit of that going on, they might be doing sort of the database administration.
okay, yeah, gotcha. Great, I think that's my last question, but we'll see. So
I'm sure they do.
the demonstration grant's 3 years. Does this have a duration? And maybe it's in the resolution and I just missed it.
I don't recall offhand, but I want to say it was a 5-year, but I don't
Okay.
recall off the top of my head.
Okay,
It is a little longer time frame for the
Good.
implementation portion of it.
yeah, because that's a lot to be done.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
And so then our financial responsibility would be spread over those.
Oh, yes,
3 or 5
yes,
years.
yeah, yeah.
Which makes it seem a lot more manageable.
It sure does.
All right,
We're not we're not turning around and writing a $1.8 million grant to the federal government. We're
We're paying.
participating in that along the way, and the in-kind salary costs can add up quite quickly because it includes benefits, all of that, so it's not just that hourly compensation, it's still, it's more.
Interestingly, it doesn't pay for vacation days. Sick days, yes, but not vacation days.
no vacation for SS4.
Right.
Now we get that.
5 years to implement.
That's all.
Okay, good. All right, any questions? Are you staying up here for private street?
I am.
Or is that all right?
Yeah,
Then
it's the
let's-
David show. the thing.
Yeah, all right, let's continue with the David show then.
So, oh, thank you. So, private street acceptance. So, the background for this one is we've gotten phone calls, emails over the last several months from the few private street, the residents that live on private street saying, help us take over this street. And, you know, there's been an informal policy on how that works. You have to bring the street up to city standards, but there's nothing that's in writing for staff or for the council to follow to make sure that we're consistent with that. And that's sort of what engendered this conversation. And actually, that's just what I said. Oops.
So I'm not trying to be contrary here, but I know we did have one at one point. It's a written policy that's on the city website, or you can at least search the city website for it. Because I have been told to go look for it and gone to look for it. So again, I'm not sure, but this is what you're asking us to do is something more formal, so it's more binding.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
exactly. And the reason, like I said, you want to have a consistent decision-making process. And because you're assuming this, you know, what could potentially be a liability. You don't want to take deficient infrastructure, and we'll have some pictures to give you an idea what I'm talking about with that. And, you know, there are operational concerns because some of these streets, they flood or they're just in such terrible condition that, you know, what are you taking?
So currently, those private street residents are responsible for the
That
maintenance.
is correct. And I'll get into a little bit of that more in a minute.
Okay.
So this is just an example of, these are not in Webster Groves, by the way. I went out of my way not to point fingers at folks.
No shaming going on.
That's right. But like on the left, the street's both narrow and in terrible condition. You might not be able to tell in that picture, but some of that asphalt's turning into gravel at that point. And on the right, that street terminates without any kind of turnaround. And if you were to build a brand new street today, if you were a developer, you would have to build a cul-de-sac with a particular diameter on the turnaround. And in this case, so a snow plow or emergency vehicle comes, how do they get out? They have to back out. If I don't know if you want to see a fire truck backing down a narrow street, and if you're parked in the street, your mirrors might not like it. And then there's also the liability if roads are in poor condition. You recently authorized a purchase for a new fire truck. You don't want to crack an axle going down a poorly maintained street. And as I mentioned, you know, city vehicles, where do they push the snow if there's no cul-de-sac? These pictures again are showing roads in poor condition, and the little graphic to the lower left gives you an idea how a road is constructed. You know, when you look at the surface of a street, it could look like a brand new street. It looks great. It just got resurfaced, but you don't know what's going on underneath it. And if there's like that sub base layer wasn't done correctly, that's how you end up with those giant potholes that we showed before. And although this street on the left isn't overly narrow, when there's on-street parking and there's snow on the side of the road, it can be a little treacherous getting our plows down there. I think Scott was telling me in this particular case, the driver, this really threaded the needle, kind of going back and forth to get in between those two cars. Or if there's a UPS truck, and we've all experienced that, and you're the guy coming down the street and you're stuck waiting for him to move, what do? You wait. So the overall objective of developing a formal policy would be get uniform and defensible process, protect public resources and limit future liabilities, make sure we're accepting streets that are safe and maintainable, and making the entire process laying out clear expectations for everybody from the jump. Just because you ask doesn't mean you're going to get. It just initiates the process for a review. Ultimately, you are the decider on whether or not the city accepts a street. There's no entitlement created just by going through the review process and having a discussion with folks, staff discussing once again, it's not a promise to folks. We just have to make that abundantly clear.
Yeah.
Financial responsibility, and this is universal across the country. When you have to bring a private street up to public standard, it's up to those folks that own the street to bring it up to the standard before the city accepts it. No different than when a developer builds a road, they build a city standard, then we accept it. This would be the same thing. However, it would be a good idea to set up the process that the homeowners could first spend money on, say, the engineering to find out what it's going to cost. Because maybe ultimately it's too expensive for them to make the payments to bring that street up to standard. So there's an out along the way, basically. But it's, again, the financial burden is on them. That would include all engineering, construction, inspection, all the legal documentation involved. The city would not be obligated to subsidize the improvements. And along the way, we could require, say, an escrow from the applicant in case there are any city costs that are that come along the way. It's hard to say exactly what those are, but should we need to do some extra engineering on our part, there would be money available for us to do that.
That phased approach is one of the things that's missing in the current policy that we have. I believe it just says that the homeowners along that street are required to make the full 100% payment. Problem is we don't know what that payment amount will be because we don't go through the design process and have someone tell us our public works staff can look at that and give a pretty good ballpark, but until you actually get into a full design and knowing and surveying and seeing what's underneath there, we don't really know what that'll be. So having that phased approach where, all right, well, if you want to do this and we need to hire an engineer and that's going to be $25,000 or whatever it is, they fund that $25,000. We do that initial design. Come back and they say, okay, well, it's going to be $200,000 or $1 million or whatever the heck it is to redo the street. Then homeowners can also say, okay, well, yes, let's move forward, or no, we won't because it's $1 million. We're not going to pay that much.
And one of the things during the design process is you do core samples of the existing street. Going back to that one cartoon that I showed earlier, you might go into that core and find out there's no base and it's just asphalt on top of sand. Well, that means you have to tear everything out and basically build a brand new street. So, some examples of the required improvements would be reconstructing the street to city's current standards, which include the width, drainage corrections for chronic runoff or flooding, adding turnarounds like I mentioned earlier, and the removal of any non-conforming features. I don't know that we have any gates, for instance, in town, but that's something you might see in some areas. So legacy streets, we all know that not all of our streets are even close to city standard. And by the way, I developed this with Sinan Alpsalon, our public works director. There could be some limited flexibility in terms of what could be allowed, but it would only apply where it's impractical to fully comply. that there's no issues with safety, drainage, or structural integrity, no ADA accessibility issues, and no unsafe conditions. So what we were thinking would be there has to be a minimum participation threshold for a street to even be considered by the city. For instance, if residents want a sidewalk, 90% of the people in that block have to say, yeah, we're in. How many, what percentage is appropriate for turning over a private street? 90%, 100%. Ultimately, that's your decision, but I'm just throwing that one out there. The petitioner would have to pay for all the engineering and title documentation. And this is, I think, a key one right here, that any right of way that needs to be dedicated or any easements, they have to give it to the city. If they're asking for the city to take over their street, they shouldn't be charging us to do it, right? And then there would be interdepartmental review to make sure the fire department's on board, the police department's on board, and so forth. Financial tools, it could be a lot of money, and depending on the street, the folks there might not have the money to actually upfront to pay for all these costs. But there are options that are available. I'm not asking you to decide one way or another on them now, but things like neighborhood improvement districts, where essentially the city pays up front and then there's an assessment on all the property owners for the next X number of years to pay that back. And I can tell you, I've seen in communities where even with that in place, the yearly payment was too high for folks, and they said, you know what, we'll keep the street.
A quick question before you move on. So if they do a neighborhood improvement district and that person move,
it stays with the land.
It stays with it.
Yeah, and they would obviously have to disclose that to a potential buyer. And no matter if we do have any financing tools, make it abundantly clear that there's no guarantee or commitment of the city to kick in. So what I'm asking for you tonight is support to move forward with the development of an ordinance. I can come back to you for further discussion once I have something on paper for you to look at. And then as far as something like a NID policy, we can make that a separate discussion altogether.
What is a NID?
Oh, that's the Neighborhood Improvement District, a financing mechanism. Whether or not you even want to make that an option, that's something that I don't know if the city has much experience with neighborhood improvement districts or community improvement districts, which is the commercial equivalent of a NID. But I've seen them elsewhere. I mean, theoretically, you get your money back over the course of, say, 10 years. I always got to couch them with you.
So I was gonna ask if we could back up to the beginning.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
Do we know how many private streets we have?
That was my first question.
I did my homework. We have, according to our list, we have 34 private streets.
Really?
And they vary in length. Some of them are like,
pardon, how many homes it might represent?
that I didn't get, but some of them are actually industrial courts. Some of them are private residential streets. Some of them are only a portion of the street. Or maybe, from this, from this intersection to that intersection kind of a thing. Why do we have?
What's the history behind them? How do we?
Yeah. So what's the benefit and why? Those, go together.
Oh, yeah. So there's an interesting history. Some of it, frankly, ugly.
Yeah.
But there's a history to it. Say the mid 1800s to the turn of the century, this was a lot of farmland. And a lot of these streets were private streets that were either farm roads or basically just an estate drive for several houses, basically a glorified driveway.
Mm-hmm.
And they're owned by those property owners that are abutting them, and that's why they exist. And they were never dedicated because they were built, like I said, before there were any kind of standards in place. We have railroad and utility related roads, things like Frisco Drive that were at one time part of like the railroad. But then say between the 20s and the mid 60s, there were a number of privately platted subdivisions. Some of you may even live in those subdivisions. And I know we've had some discussion in history of dealing with the deed restrictions that are still in place. Not all of the streets are born out of that. Some of them were strictly just private subdivisions that folks, when they built them, the builder or developer chose to keep their streets private for who knows why. I know it was popular in the city of St. Louis for a number of years to build gated streets. It still is. And some people just wanted a sense of exclusivity for good, bad, and other reasons. Like I said, some of it is really ugly history to it. But nevertheless, we have that. And we were in what was at the time a garden suburb, right? And some of the streets were just developed as part of a private neighborhood. There was actually a court case in the early 60s where one particular subdivision or HOA in the city had a lawsuit about whether or not the public has a right to access these private streets. And the city prevailed. Everybody has a right to access the private streets. But if it's private, those private entities get to pay for all the maintenance, which includes the upkeep, but also the snow plowing and all those fun things. And then I mentioned the industrial private streets. I think Breckenridge Industrial Court is another one that comes to mind. But under Missouri law, a street remains private unless a city formally accepts it. So it's also possible that over time, some of these folks have come to you in the past and said, will you take their street? And you said no.
And there's also the issue where they're not requesting the city to take it
That's
over,
correct.
but they're looking for some documented instruction on what is required
That's correct.
to bring it up. Because I have an owner that has been asking for this I know he bought the property in 2005. And then I know it was Renee had started getting, so I've been digging, trying to find instructions on how, because the property is like an alley, but it runs all the way up and it's access to, streets are on Cornell, the houses front Cornell, they front Holland, and then they allow rear access to the properties. Yeah. And there's actually a recorded document where the owners agreed that everybody could have access to them. But now they're trying to build a house on one of the lots. They would like to do the rear entry. And of course, we want rear entry garages or rear don't want front face. So anyway, they have been asking for at least the last 5 or 6 years. Can you please give us what the city's specifications are for developing this right of way and access to people so that they can get agreement from the owner. So whatever we're doing here actually goes into this same thing. What are the requirements? What do we have to do? What are we telling people that is necessary without even asking the city to take over it, but asking the city to give some description of what's required to bring this up to city standards. And
so I believe the subdivision ordinance spells out the minimum dimensions and whatnot of streets, like the turning radii, how big a cul-de-sac has to be, how many feet of right of way you have to have from one end to the other. I'm not familiar with this particular situation, but if it doesn't meet those standards, that could be a hang-up.
But the problem is nobody can even give them a standard. Like, this is the first time I've heard of a subdivision standard that would even address that. So I'm saying something like this needs to make sure, because where there's a situation where the city says, no, we're not going to take it over, then people still need to know what it is that they need to do to make sure that.
And I was just to say the code audit that we're doing.
And they may not even want the city to take it over. They just want to know what do we need to do.
So the code audit that Dr. Wagner is leading right now to update the zoning ordinance will also look at the subdivision ordinance as well to make sure that we're meeting our comp plan and everything else. And I'm sure we will if there aren't standards that are explicit, we'll make sure that they are.
And to be clear, those are standards that a private street would have to, what a private street would have to maintain as far as the upkeep and things like that? Or are we saying there's not a standard?
So there's not a standard, and that varies from city to city. Some cities say private streets have to meet public standard, others don't. And when they don't, you're essentially left with a driveway, which is in this case why we have so many substandard streets.
Right.
And many cities prohibit new private streets as well, so that we don't run into this situation 20 years from now.
But we are not one of those cities.
Well, we're not building a lot of subdivisions, so.
That's true too.
Yeah.
But I think we probably have a lot of these where people have been using that as access to the properties. It probably doesn't raise to the level of a private street, but it's used to access
Like a shared driveway.
a shared driveway or whatever, yeah.
Or an alley.
But a slightly different topic here. Do people who live on private streets pay the same property taxes as those of us who live on public streets?
I believe you do.
And they pay for city services.
Yes.
So if I live on a private street, one of the things I'm gonna say is city should pay at least some portion of this because I've been paying taxes for as long as I've been here for services I haven't received. Is that a fair argument in your mind?
In my mind, I would say no, because I'd say that you're also getting police services and fire services and all the services that we offer here, the rec center and whatnot. I mean, are you getting 100%? But you're also using all the other streets throughout the city as well.
And we don't charge them for fire and
That's
police to come down the street, which it sounds like good on a private street, a
Yeah.
good charge. Which would be,
No, I know you're not advocating for that, but
So, like,
it is
there's
wild to
like-
think about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
another side too.
yeah.
Really, the only service they're not getting would be snow plowing, street sweeping,
Provide.
or any
Street maintenance.
maintenance,
Yeah.
street maintenance, like pothole filling and stuff.
You say so service, they will get.
They're not currently, if you're on a private street right now, the city doesn't plow the snow
Oh,
because it's a private street.
it's private street.
Yeah.
Well, this is solving a mystery for me because I walk my dogs on a private street every morning and off of Slocum, just on foot, and it's,
Oh,
So are you
I know the
saying-
one you're talking about.
Yeah.
you know what I'm
We
talking
saw
about?
it at the safety.
Yes.
It's bad. It's all gravel, there's huge ruts in it. And I've always wondered about it. And boy, if a fire truck had to go down it, it would be the axle breaking. But I've always wondered, so are you saying one of those people, there's two houses to the north that it's their side, side street, so it doesn't bother them. But there's four houses to face the street that they have to go on. So which of those four houses owns the street? One of those?
Well, without seeing a plat, it's difficult to say, and whether or not there's any agreement in place. But odds are, if you abut the street, you're party to the street.
Got it. Well, I just gotta say, I can't imagine that one of them has a kind of a nice house, with all nice houses. One of them's a little more upscale and the other three are more modest, and I can't imagine them forking out what it would cost to make that a real street.
I was talking to a fellow, I won't say the street, but he was telling me how their street is in disrepair. But there's one resident that gets out there every time it snows and he shovels the snow himself. Everybody throws him, $10-20 or whatever. But it's one guy shoveling all the snow for everybody else.
The street isn't shoveled. The street's too uneven.
No, actually,
Of the 34 private streets that we've got, do we know percentage or miles that are in disrepair and interest in? I'm turning them over and I didn't.
Yeah, we wouldn't inventory the condition of private streets. I've only heard recently from one street, but Scott, have you heard from any other ones? You know the one I'm talking.
Yeah, there's one that's been asking recently. I think there's been a couple inquiries from others in the not so distant future, past
Yeah.
future. I'm living in next year.
It's not often. Some people are, as Councilwoman Alexander said, some people are happy to keep their street private and maintain it themselves.
Yeah, they just want to know what the city requires them to do so that they can talk to
Nothing.
the adjacent area. Well, no, they have to do something. They gotta come up there, they gotta, you gotta have some kind of safety or something requirements or something.
it sounds like that maybe not be an actual street, but
Yeah.
more of an access driveway.
It's right,
Yeah,
because you can go up there and then, I mean,
Yeah. I know
they're
what
trying
you're
to see,
talking
there's
about.
several neighbors that want to have that improved and whatever, but they gotta get the other neighbors that's also, of course, we have landlords whose tenants use them all the time, but he doesn't want to kick anything in. The property owners that live there are like, we can share the cost of getting this done, but we need to know first what the city
What the
requires, and what's the
specifications, yeah.
specifications, and then we can,
And that I think is part of what Scott was talking about is as it stands now, you have to spend, there's no out along the way. You can't hire an engineer and say, oh boy, that's too expensive and then back out. The way the process is set up now, it's you're in for it all, you know. So this would enable people to like do that initial work, determine what it's going to cost, and then they can determine, you know what, this is a bad idea, this is a good idea. Right.
But because like now they're looking to build a new house and they're gonna put the garage in the back and they could entrance it from the alley. But like, what are they gonna come up with from licensing or architectural whatever and egress to it from the rear? It's not an actual street. What, you know?
Is it safe to say that homes or in the private streets, people know they live on a private street?
I would say that's probably a good bet.
Okay.
Because the city's not plowing it and somebody's maintaining it and it's not.
And we don't know if they're collecting any kind of home.
We don't know. It's private. It's private. I mean, some of them have HOAs, some don't.
So the purpose of your ordinance would be to just protect the city from any future liabilities.
Protect the city from future liabilities and make the process clear to people that if they do want to turn the street over to the city, what do they need to do? What are all of the steps?
Or are we just, because I know I was driving, so right, if you go down South Am down here and you turn down one of these streets, but you see what looks like common streets and they actually end up being what looks like alleys to all of these big houses that have garages in the back of them, and they don't have driveways in their front yard. And so I was just driving, I'm like, how the hell did they get to the garage? And so I was driving around and seeing, it's almost like they got a street at the back of the houses to give them access to their garages, because they have garages, they have rear garages, but they don't have driveways. Like a couple of these houses don't have. Yeah, so are those on the list? Are those considered private?
The alleys
streets?
are private, but theoretically a house should front on a street. So
yeah, that's what I was saying. For it to be a private street, does it all the houses have to front on the street?
It's a little well. No, it's
okay. That's what I thought.
An alley, your house could front on a public street, but have access off of a private alley.
Right, that's what a lot of these do. Are those considered private streets, or are those considered alleys?
Those are, if it's set up like that, that's an alley.
And so it would not be able to follow this process because it's not a private street that
unless they could meet the minimum standards for a street, you know.
And we don't know what that is because it's not solidified.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, if you have a 12-foot wide lane, that's not going to be that's not something you could accept, right? But if it has enough, you know, whatever the minimum standards for 2 lanes plus the required right of way on the other side of those lanes, potentially that could be it.
ADA stuff,
yeah, all sorts of stuff.
So one of the things you mentioned is there might be stormwater issues on some of these. I assume any interaction with MSD would be the responsibility of the residents?
It would be the responsibility of the resident, but I can tell you that our public works director has been very generous in helping sort of mediate between them and make the connections.
I have no problem in drafting something up so we can read it. I think that's a good idea to get us on the front end of anything. So I grew up on a private street. We owned everything from the street.
Well, you might want to recuse yourself.
I mean, we had to pay for it all.
Isn't that the legal term, Neil?
I do have one other, and it's probably unrelated, but I just want to make sure it is unrelated. There are these things called paper streets.
Yeah.
And we have several paper streets. But you define it.
So paper street is a platted street. So when the neighborhood all the lots were laid out, land was dedicated, or not, excuse me, not the wrong, land was set aside for a street to be built, but for whatever reason, that street was never built. Perhaps there was a street on the other side of where the house is, and they decided, you know what, we don't need this particular one. So on paper, there's a street.
See, Onder has.
Oh, I know. There's one that runs right from Newport to Fox.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's several of them.
Yeah.
In
but those in theory,
That's
if there was a paper street that somebody wanted to become a public street that, or well, are paper streets public or private?
There's no street, so it's although it's publicly accessible, there's a
public right of way.
there's a public right of way, but there's nothing to maintain by the city as far as the street goes.
Okay.
So
then
it was never until a street is accepted, the city is not responsible for the maintenance of what's in that right of way.
I like to see those definitions as well.
Sure.
I would too, but I would just like to emphasize that we can't go down this road without addressing those things that are not possibly a public street, a private street, or, there's things that have to, I would say that would still have to apply with the exception of the width or stuff like that. With being able to give people some instruction on how they need to address these things. Okay, it doesn't rise to the level of a public street, then what is it? If it's this, then
So,
what? Yeah.
if I might just to sort of repeat to make sure I understand. So what, for lack of a better term, we've been calling alleys,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not in this ordinance, but in conjunction with creating this ordinance, we make it clear, here are the rules for alleys, since it's not really a street.
Mm-hmm.
Here are rules, if any, for paper streets. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yes. Yes. So
Does
that
that
we're
make
not
sense?
down the road doing it in
Yeah.
bits and pieces. Since we're determining what this is, I think we should make sure we address all of that.
But and it sounds, David, like you believe we already have some of this in our subdivision ordinance, so
Some of
really it may be just pointing in that direction, not recreating anything.
Right. Exactly.
But we haven't been pointing there.
And then also,
Yeah.
just to confuse matters more, the International Fire Code also spells out some minimum standards for street widths as well to make sure a fire truck
Yeah.
can get down there.
So
So
what happens when a fire truck goes to one of these roads and they know they can't get down?
they figure out where they need to park and they.
Bucket brigade.
Really long ladder. I mean, the ladder.
I mean, the hoses are long.
Okay.
The city will provide emergency services regardless. If it's a matter of what the hose length is to get down there, that's what they have to do. But
Okay.
the fire department is very familiar with all of these streets and they've already mapped out where
Yeah.
they need to park, where the hydrants
Oh, they
are, all
find
those
it, yeah.
critical.
I was gonna say,
things.
because even when I think of this one, I can visually know, I know exactly where the hydrant is on Holland, and then I know where the hydrant is on Cornell. So if they needed to get to the 6 properties or whatever on both sides, they can park on Holland or Cornell.
But I can tell you, fire truck drivers they don't like to back up their vehicles. They're way too long to take it down the street and then back up. So having some sort of turnaround, it really is critical.
Well, a turnaround for a fire truck and a turnaround for a car is two different things.
Well, if they can do a few maneuvers to kind of work their way out, but yeah.
Well, and I do think that's gonna be one of you use the term legacy streets, that's gonna be one of the biggest challenges, is that some of the streets, including some of the people who have asked for consideration, there's no way you can fit a turnaround of any size.
Unless they're willing to give up some of their yard.
And they're not usually.
Well, and some of them, frankly, the yards aren't big enough to give up much.
Exactly.
Right? So
There's no way
we'll
to
see.
go.
We'll see how it goes. Good luck, David. Yeah.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, please do.
Late to the game, but for alleys though, that are private, like I can envisioning the houses along Elm who have the alleyway behind them so that they can access their garages. That's a private alley and not
That's not a private street.
Okay.
What you're talking about.
Okay.
So on those, is there any instruction? Is there like a model document for a private road maintenance agreement? Because that has been requested too in this case. It's just like, okay, fine, we want to get an agreement between the neighbors on both sides, and we've asked.
We don't, because it's private.
Right.
So it would
Yeah.
be between the private owners. It's not a city function to make an agreement between two private
How is
entities.
the city function to make the agreement, but is it not reasonable to expect that the city or municipality can point you in the direction of what a private maintenance road agreement should look like?
I still think that's a lawyer's responsibility, to be honest.
Yeah, and we're in the ordinance, we're gonna say, this is what we will do for you. And everything outside of that is on you.
And frankly, these days, it's easy enough to go online and find examples of agreements, but you still need to go to an attorney because ultimately you don't know who wrote that one, and it might have been beneficial to one property owner versus another.
It would have been a good answer, but that hasn't even been provided. It's kind
Yeah.
of like, well, does the city need, you know, it's.
We always set it up so you need lawyers.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
what I say. These lawyers, they set up things for.
Can't understand this.
These lawyers.
Okay. Looking at our time, we're gonna let Leanne have the final statement, question, whatever it might be.
Since it sounds like we're moving forward with this, just pre-questions that I would have. Portions of streets, like, are we gonna put a minimum? Should we put, and I'm not asking for an answer now, this is like, as we're looking for it. Should we put a minimum walk length or something that we would be considering taking so we don't end up having mishmash chunks, the street?
In my mind, it's all or none, you know, as far as.
But what is,
Yeah.
what is?
So streets of multiple blocks is what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
I got you.
And so, and then we talked about the city doing the work to bring it up to code. Is that a requirement that our public works has to do it, or could they hire it out private? No idea what that would look like. And again, don't want an answer, just want to know that it's in there. And then the timeline on that escrow, is that 18 months, 12 months, 3 years, and then we would.
We wouldn't be doing any of the work to bring it up to code. That would be done by the homeowners that pay for.
The homeowner.
Or the,
You're not paying us.
And how can I?
So the
We're
public
gonna-
works department wouldn't.
we might give an
we would-
initial estimate, like, yeah, looking at this, it might, you know, we think it'll probably be $200,000, but
And we
we're-
wouldn't do that as a contract job.
Generally speaking, no. I mean,
Okay.
there's always
Then I would-
exceptions to the rule. Like say there happens to be a street project that we're doing already. It's like, you know what? We can add this onto it. You guys pay for this piece, we'll pay for that piece.
But I
But
would like.
that is not,
to.
that's not gonna happen every day.
Yep.
This isn't gonna happen every day.
Yeah, the more you put in stuff for lawyers, the more they dig, so.
We've gotten to
They're
our
always
meeting.
until they need us.
where do they get paid by the hour?
We're always at the lawyer portion, that's right. Okay, thank you. Oh, absolutely. Thank you, David, and we'll look forward to getting something back from you. I took some time to draft.
Good to know. I mean,
Thank you.
I never thought about that.
Okay, as the clock ticks down there, we have 2 requested reappointments, both to the Sustainability Commission, Amana Anwar.
Amna Anwar.
Amna Anwar. I was in the ballpark, but not that close. Has served less than 2 terms and wishes to be reappointed, as it's the same for Nicole Miller Strutman. Would we like to reappoint? Liaison and chair have both said, both liaisons and chair
Yes.
enthusiastically.
Yes.
Okay, so they will be reappointed and we'll announce that in our regular meetings.
So happy they wanna continue.
Yeah, and we do have one more interview scheduled for the 22nd that Katie did for the vacancy on sustainability. Do we have any vacancies on green space? Do you know off the top of your head? Not right now.
No, not currently.
Okay, so we could line somebody up for the next opening if we wanted to.
Someone looking
To,
sustainability.
did they apply today? Because that might be a third applicant then for this.
That's the one too.
Okay,
Jim.
Yeah, they applied for stormwater, sustainability and green space.
okay. All right, well, good. Is there anything else? Okay, I am just going to, those of you who have been joining us via Zoom, we are going to close down this particular Zoom and you can just rejoin and we'll be in the regular meeting to rejoin. This is just a new process that helps us make sure we record more efficiently. So we will see you all back and we'll probably start a couple minutes late because we'll need a few minutes of a break. So can we, take 3 or 4 minutes and we'll get started in chambers.
Wonderful.
All right, welcome to our city council meeting for May 19th, 2026. We're happy to have you with us, whether you're in the room or online, and we welcome your comments, questions, ideas. If you are in the audience, we're going to ask you to fill out a speaker card, which will then be given to me if you leave it at the end of the dais. And you'll be called upon during the remarks for community and visitors. If you are online and you would like to make some sort of community or public comment, you can use the raise your hand function at that time and we'll call on you and allow you to speak. Comments are limited to 3 minutes in order for us to complete our agenda on time. And we thank you for your participation with us. All right, let's have the call of the roll, please.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Arm,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Alexander.
Here.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd.
Here.
Councilmember Hassemeyer.
Here.
Councilmember Waugh.
Here.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Here.
All right, we have a proclamation for National Public Works Week. We have our Director of Public Works in the room. Yay! And I hope you will carry our greetings and best wishes back. Best wishes, and I'm going to catch you. I do want to, if I can, deliver this in person to the Public Works Department. So we'll figure that out. But I'm going to read it for us here. Whereas 2026 marks the 66th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, and public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to public health, high quality of life, and the well-being of the people of the city of Webster Groves. And whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities is essential for our citizens. Whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Webster Groves to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. Now, therefore, I, Laura Arnold, Mayor of the City of Webster Groves, and the entire City Council do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through 23rd as National Public Works Week. We urge all citizens to join us in recognizing our Webster Groves Public Works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our health, safety, and advancing the quality of life for all. Yay for our Public Works team. Thank you for everything that you do. All right, we will proceed to our remarks from community and visitors. In the room, I have one card, and that is from Mr. Dave Buck. And you know the routine, Mr. Buck, Dave, but if you would state your name and your address when you make your comment, please.
Dave Buck, Colonial Village Apartments. Thank you. Dave Buck, Colonial Village Apartments. Sometimes it just takes a well-chosen song to help make the point that Webster is losing a growing number of empty nester seniors like me, I'm 73, to other nearby cities due to a dire shortage of downsized condos and townhouses. There's a place for us, somewhere a place for us, peace and quiet and open air, wait for us somewhere. There's a time for us, someday a time for us, time together with time to spare, time to learn, time to care. Someday, somewhere, we'll find a new way of living. We'll find a way of forgiving. Somewhere there's a place for us, a time and place for us. Hold my hand and we're halfway there. Hold my hand and I'll take you there. Somehow, someday, somewhere.
All right. I don't know who wants to follow that, if anyone, but I think we're finished in the room with our speaker cards. If you are on Zoom and you would like to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand function right now. All right. I do not see any hands being raised. So we will move on to new business. Is there any new business?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
may I make a statement, please? Thank you. I just want to take a moment to capture a couple of points of chaos from the current federal administration. First, the first 6 days of the war in Iran cost roughly $11.3 billion. It's an average of $1.88 billion per day of taxpayer dollars. We've been at war now for 82 days. Some experts predict that this will put us into over $1 trillion spent on this war. Our debt is growing. The price of living is so expensive. We're up $1.50 per gallon more than we were paying, and that increases the cost of everything. I think I could think of a million other ways to spend $1 trillion, and one that protects people and does not exploit and destroy people. The other thing I want to acknowledge is the audacity of the Supreme Court and their gutting of the Voting Rights Act. I'm only one voice among many who are appalled at the blatant and racist decisions coming from this partisan court. I alone won't be able to fix the problems through this comment, but I must hold the responsibility of a white woman with privilege who will not stay silent as the hard-won victories of the civil rights era are erased and Black voters all throughout our country are disenfranchised. I believe in working toward a United States that works for everyone and that involves using my voice to state the injustices, my money to support efforts that fight for justice, and my position to make statements like this. I am livid at the undoing of our rights, and this fire in me will fuel my fight for justice, for rebuilding a system that centers love, care, and justice. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Councilmember Hasselmeyer. Any other new business? All right, we will go on to our new business that is on the agenda, starting with the final of our budget presentations, I believe, with Chief Vincent Aceves. There he is. For a minute, I couldn't find you, but I knew you were here.
You clean up pretty good, Chief. We didn't know who you were.
Thank you, everyone. Madam Mayor, council members. I want to be honest up front. Jordan threw me a curveball, said that I'm going to be doing my own slides. I usually rely on Karen for that, so bear with me here.
We know you can rise to the occasion. We know.
I'm going to do my best. And I'm also going to ask you guys if you could keep your eyes on the back of the room for me. Deputy City Manager Bookless said he was going to be heckling me while I'm up here. So if you guys could help me out there, I'd appreciate it. So thank you again for allowing me to present our police department budget to you this evening. My name is Vincent Aceves. I'm the Chief of Police, and I'm just going to walk you through a few slides. The first slide I want to share with you is really giving you guys some background about our organization and kind of where we've been going and where we are going, starting from 2 years ago when I got here into the future. Providing excellent customer service. That's at the foundation of what we do. And then we take that very seriously. Our core values are excellence, teamwork, and mentorship. And we are weaving those three words, our core values, into the very fabric of our culture. It's on our challenge points. It's on the walls throughout the station, and it's all over my office. And the majority of the messages that I send out to the department, the conversations that I have, I talk about those core values. So that's very important to what we're doing. Excellence is always doing your best. Teamwork is being a great teammate. And mentorship is making sure that we're doing our best to bring up those that are behind us. It ensures continuity of command. That's how great organizations operate, and that's where we're going. And we've moved in that direction significantly over the last 2 years. We also place an emphasis on retention through training, community engagement, and accountability. Those three things were three of the things that many of you that are sitting up on the dais tonight, did I say that? Dice? How do you say it? Dice? Asked me about when you interviewed me for this job. So that's why training, community engagement, and accountability are so important. Ultimately, we want our department to become a destination department, a department that promotes long-term organizational stability and reduces operational costs over time. The way we do that is by investing in employee development through quality training, mentorship, a positive organizational culture. This way, the department is better positioned to retain high-performing personnel and minimize the significant financial and operational costs associated with continual turnover and recruitment. In addition, well-trained and professionally developed officers are more effective in decision-making, risk management, and community interactions, which helps reduce exposure to civil liability, litigation, and other avoidable costs. And if you ask my colleague, Neil Bruntrager, who's sitting up here with you guys, he could tell you about civil liability and specifically with law enforcement and police departments. And the first thing that attorneys go after and they accuse police departments of is failure to train and failure to supervise. And that's why I place such an emphasis on accountability for supervisors and training. This next slide reflects our recently ratified new contract that was just signed for our officers, sergeants, and lieutenants. We didn't originally have the numbers up there, but this reflects those raises. How does what we're doing align with our Webster Grove strategic plan? I want to talk about 2 points. The first point is strengthening economic development. Our department makes a concerted effort, deliberate effort to partner with our business organizations, all of our business districts. We attend all of the business district meetings, and there's intentionality behind that. We want our business community to thrive in Webster Groves. So we want them to feel supported, whether it's through an event that they're hosting or if they want a security assessment for their business. But we want them to feel like Webster Groves has their back and the Webster Groves Police Department has their back. So we're going to continue doing that. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think our department does a phenomenal job. I think we really accurately reflect our community. And there's a point I'd like to make. Many of you may not be aware of this, and I was hesitant to bring it up because I don't want it to detract from these two individuals' accomplishment, because they accomplished this this milestone, this achievement on their own based on who they are as men. But Sergeant Tory Rogers and Sergeant Cam McCullough are the first two Black sergeants in the history of the Webster Groves Police Department. They were promoted last fall. And again, they weren't promoted because they're Black. They were promoted because they're awesome. They're great leaders. And the department that we are creating values transparency and fairness, and the processes work. And they exemplify that. Let's talk about capital improvements. Body cameras, pretty self-explanatory. It's a continued agreement. In-car video, same thing. It's a continued agreement. Leather equipment, that's the stuff that officers that we wear on our belts every day. We have to rotate that out every few years. It gets a little beat up. Soft body armor. Soft body armor are the ballistic vests that we wear every day when we go out on the street. The reason that we don't replace these all at once is for two reasons. Soft body armor usually lasts about 4 to 5 years, so you have to cycle it out. And then secondarily, we are also involved in a federal grant that we've been involved with for some time. So we get a certain amount of money every year. So we track our officers, the lifespan of their vests, and we rotate them out based on when those vests are expiring. Flock cameras. So back in February, and I'll share this document in a follow-up email, for our new council colleagues. I sent out a frequently asked questions document to council and the mayor because we were getting some questions about flock. So first of all, I want to clarify, this is not an expansion of our current program. This is to maintain the existing 6. This funding request will support the continued use of flock cameras, which is an essential investigative tool that helps us prevent and respond to dangerous criminal activity in Webster Groves. We have access to 6 cameras located at key intersections throughout Webster Groves, providing real-time and historical data that assists in identifying suspects, locating vehicles of interest, and developing investigative leads. Maintaining this capability strengthens our ability to deter crime, enhance situational awareness, and improve overall public safety outcomes. We use this valuable tool every single day, and we share access with our law enforcement partners for legitimate law enforcement purposes, and we receive the same access from them in return. And just a couple quick anecdotes about how Flock has worked for us. I'll give you a couple blockbuster cases. It works on a lot of different smaller levels, but these are a couple things that always hit home. We were investigating a homicide that occurred in Webster Groves, and that Flock camera allowed us to track a suspect's movement. And that evidence was part of the evidence that led to us securing a prosecution of that individual in charges. Secondarily, it's helped us with silver alerts, locating vulnerable people who are in vulnerable populations who are missing. So those are 2 examples that I can think of off the top of my head. But Flock is a fantastic tool for us. Additionally, we have policies that we use that are guidelines for how we use Flock, and we're going to continue to do that. And we use this tool responsibly. I know there's going to be questions at the end, so I'll move on. Taser replacement. You guys all know what tasers are. They're electric conducted devices that allow us to, I'm trying to think of the best word here.
Incapacitate?
Not incapacitate, de-escalate.
De-escalate.
De-escalate,
Okay.
because
He didn't say it, I said it.
Here's another anecdote. You guys all know what the tasers are. I'm not going to go into the full explanation. But when I was evaluating our use of forces from last year, what I noticed is that in 19 situations when we require officers to report if they remove their taser from its holster. For us, internally, that's considered a use of force. When they removed that taser from its holster, 19 out of 19 times, the subject became compliant. There was no need to use the taser.
No.
The sight of that taser helps us gain compliance. So from my standpoint, that's pretty significant de-escalation. The reason we need to replace them is because they have an end of life, and they've reached the end of life. We're actually well behind the end of life because we purchased ours in 2012. I want to move on to vehicles. So we're seeking funding for 3 new hybrid patrol vehicles to maintain safe, reliable, and efficient fleet for our frontline officers. With a current inventory of 21 patrol squad cars, a consistent replacement cycle of at least 3 vehicles per year is necessary to ensure operational readiness for officer safety. Vehicles designated for patrol typically exceed 100,000 miles or 5 to 6 years of service before we replace them. At that point, maintenance costs rise and reliability declines. Investing in hybrid squads not only supports sustainability goals through improved fuel efficiency, but also reduces long-term operating costs while ensuring officers have dependable equipment and to effectively serve the community. Our officers drive squad cars 24 hours a day, every day of the year. That's their office, and we try to be as responsible with those cars as we can. We need to make sure that our officers have comfortable equipment and safe equipment while they're out there. Emergency lights, radio boxes. So we're seeking funding to replace up to 3 sets of emergency lighting and radio box equipment to ensure the uninterrupted patrol operations in the event of vehicle damage or equipment failure. So this is not something that we need right now, but we're anticipating that throughout the year, if there's crashes that we're involved in, for example, recently one of our officers was on Interstate 44 when a driver struck and hit his squad car, totaling that car. This was an instance where we had to replace all this equipment, so we try to plan for this every year. So that's all I have. That concludes my presentation. I'd like to provide all of you an opportunity to ask me some questions.
Glad you said that, Chief.
Go ahead. That put you first in line there, Mr. Smith.
Just a couple of questions, Chief.
Yes.
Going back to the soft body armor.
Yes, sir.
Now that amount, would that only replace a few or would it replace all?
Let me look at the number one more. It doesn't replace all of them. We can't replace all of them every year. We have to cycle them out. So for instance, in a given calendar year, 7 officers, their body armor might expire.
Okay.
So that's what we replace every year. But we also plan for emergent situations where, let's say an officer encounters a subject with an edged weapon and that damages the officer's body armor. We have to replace that one as well.
Okay. I didn't see any other years like 28, 29, 30. So why is it just for 27?
So I think this was we moved that item into capital for this fiscal year.
Okay, I see that.
Oh, so you're saying typically it's an operating and we just moved it to capital this year?
Correct.
So you are planning on purchasing in future years? It's just
Yes.
in the
In the-
capital improvement?
Yes.
Be in the other?
Yes.
Okay. Because normally I see each year how many you plan on, excuse me, how much you plan on spending. That was just
Yeah.
a question I had.
So whatever the number is for this year, that's going to be the number for next year.
Okay. And the taser guns, the zap guns you mentioned, I see that's ongoing for 27, 28, 29. You're replacing them as they become out of date or?
So we would receive the devices up front. The cost for the associated years is the total package broken up over time.
Okay, great.
And that includes free maintenance, free replacement, updates to the software, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Can I just piggyback on that one? So it's 17 tasers for 5 years and it's like 195, I think altogether, but it's only 39 in the first year. Do I have that right?
Yeah, it's more tasers than that. I don't recall the exact number up front, but it's I'm pretty sure it's more than 17.
Oh, it's 17 per year, maybe.
No, we get the full number up front. I think
Okay.
we're in the 30s.
Maybe it's just 17 that are over 6
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah, I can get back to you and get you that exact number.
It's okay.
Oh, no.
But it's like we're paying 195 over 5 years.
Yes.
And over those 5 years, we'll replace, I'm assuming, all of the tasers.
We're replacing all of our tasers.
Yeah.
We're getting all of them at one time.
We're getting them all
So
the
we're
way.
getting all at one time. We're just paying for them over 5 years. So it's like a yearly contract to spread that payment out for 5 years. But we're getting all of them this coming year.
Okay. And then I guess that works. Because, yep, never mind. I'm answering my own question. I'm talking there.
Would you like someone else to ask a question, right?
Go into a little detail for me again, Chief, about the Milo IES interactive system. Is that
So-
something we lease like the tasers?
Well, it's a device that we own. It's a software that allows us to do some scenario-based training.
Okay.
Firearms scenario, use of force scenario, de-escalation.
Okay, so that's just the cost of keeping that software up to date.
Yes.
Okay. You know, I think
So
that's
can
all.
I follow up on that? I go to these groups of mayor meetings and community league meetings, and one of the topics we had not too long ago was the St. Charles County Training Center that they're building for public safety, which has things. They would argue that it was higher quality than Milo in terms of scenario training.
Yeah.
My understanding is there is one in the training center in the works for St. Louis County. I guess I'm asking sort of in future years, do you envision a time where we would use those kinds of facilities rather than Milo, or is Milo still worth having on top of access to those kinds of facilities?
That's a good question because it gives me an opportunity to highlight some of the things that we may not all be aware of. We would absolutely jump at any chance to have a partnership with those two different entities. There's always a lot of considerations, though. There's going to be a lot of demand.
Yeah.
There's going to be cost involved.
Mhm.
And we're okay with those things, and we're okay justifying those things. And I'm okay coming up here talking about those things and having conversations with all of you. But nothing beats having an option to also do it in-house, because the things that we do in public safety and in law enforcement are perishable skills. If we're not training on those things frequently, more than quarterly, all the time, that's going to put us in a situation where we're going to be more at risk. So to answer your question, yes, yes, and yes.
Okay, that's helpful though.
Yeah.
Can I ask my last question and I'll be done? Thank you. Chief, I saw that the next year for 28, you're asking for upgrade of the detainee area.
So, and I'll go into that. Probably not as prepared to have that discussion as I should be, because it's city manager and I have had some conversations about that. There's some legwork that has to be done on that. So we put that on there as a marker, knowing that that's something that we have to address in the next few years. But it's going to involve bringing in some companies here to really take a look at what we have down there, and to give us some different opinions about what we need to do and what direction we need to go in.
I believe you used the word safety. So what safety issues?
So the communications equipment down there doesn't work all the time. That's why we don't use that's why I talk with my hands. I'm from Chicago. That's why we don't always use our hard holding cells. Our booking cages are different. Those are safe. Those are great. No issues with those. The issue, one of the big issues in the hard holding cells, the actual lockup cells, is the electronic equipment, the communication equipment, the monitoring equipment, the video equipment, and then some of the equipment in there in terms of the doors and everything else. Some of it is a bit dated.
Any idea how old it is?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can find that out for you though.
Yeah, Scott, do you know how old it might be? Okay, I just noticed it was 28 for the year for 28. And if it's for safety and for detainees and staff, this is to prevent security breaches and ensure proper monitoring and control within the facility. I'd like to know more information about that.
Yeah, and I'll get that to you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Alexander.
Regarding the tasers, did I understand you to say that we haven't replaced our tasers since 2012?
Well, we purchased the tasers that we currently have, according to my records, in 2012.
Okay, so have the design of the ones that we have, I know that the tasers now, and one of the safety things or concerns is that they look like guns. I mean, they have handles. Is that what those look like that we have now, or is that what the ones that we are planning to get will look like?
The new tasers that we're getting are not substantially different in terms of design. So if you've seen, you want me to call one of my officers in here? Hey, Googs, can you come in here for a second?
Yeah, tell Goose don't shoot us, but just show.
Yeah, just please don't mistake which one he's pulling out his holster.
There's nothing wrong, Goose.
I don't think you want to be caged.
You know, all right. Take a look at officer. It doesn't look substantially different.
So where's the taser? Which one is the taser?
Yeah.
That's the taser. Okay.
It's yellow when it comes out, which is why it's different from a gun.
Okay, all right.
This picture.
Karen, you haven't been tased before?
Thank you for your
Thank you.
assistance.
And then on the flock camera, so you said they're in 6 locations, do we keep those stationary, or are we trying to increase where we'll have them? So are we trying to replace them, or we're trying to increase what we have?
We're keeping what we have. I'm not asking for more flock cameras.
Uh-huh.
I'm asking just to maintain what we currently have. And yes, you're right. They are in 6 locations throughout the city. I won't talk about specifically where they are, but we strategically place them. And if we need to move them, we move them based on activity or other factors.
Okay. Oh, but that's pretty cool though, because we don't know where they are. You just get to catch stuff throughout. Okay.
All right.
And then on the vehicles, the hybrid, weren't we challenged last year with being able, with supplies, with being able to obtain
Well,
hybrid vehicles?
I think there was a concern. You mean when we did the rush order? Is that what you're talking about? Remember, we did a rush order for fiscal year 26. We purchased those vehicles in 25 because I think there were some concerns about tariffs.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think before, I thought the concern was we wanted to get hybrid vehicles and we could not, they were in
Was
such
it hybrid or electric? I think
hybrid or electric.
I think it was the electric. we
So
couldn't
that's why we
find.
got hybrid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I piggyback on the flock question?
Sure.
So, on the silver alert that you mentioned, was that also using license plate reader, or was that actually seeing the person?
So Flock doesn't share images of people, doesn't capture images of people. It only captures images of vehicles, the backs of vehicles, the rears of vehicles, and license plates.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I just wanted to confirm that. And I know we've already renewed our contract, so this is helping to pay for that renewal. If we wanted to at some point alter or adjust some of the language, is there, right now we keep things for 30 days, images for 30 days, records. Is there a way, and this can be a takeaway, but would there be a way to maybe decrease that amount of time and still, not, jeopardize an investigation?
I don't know. I can find out for you.
That would be great, because I have heard that other states do have a much shorter period. And I know when we did the FAQs, in February, one of the things is in the state of Missouri, like we're kind of limited on what we can say no to. And I'm just thinking if we don't have the recordings, we can't share the recordings. So I'm just thinking, like a narrower amount of time that we keep it would maybe be one way that we could put some more guardrails on the use of that.
Okay, I'll find out for you and I'll get back to you through the city manager.
Thank you.
Chief, I have another FLAC related question. I really appreciate like the balance of surveillance for safety. And of course, my concern is like surveillance and oversharing. I just made a joke about like Big Brother, but like, so it's a fine line. I appreciate that you're not expanding the program, and your presentation was really helpful. I had a couple of questions that I wanted to ask, and you touched on most of it in your presentation. So thank you very much for all of that information. From our time that we had together talking about this in February, has anything shifted or changed on the landscape with like the state or the federal government with how we use the data that's collected?
Well, I could tell you a development that came out February, and Neil Bruntrager may be aware of this as well. The Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of license plate reader technology as used by the city of Norfolk during a court case regarding license plate readers, which is another word for flock.
Mm-hmm.
So that puts us on even firmer ground.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, yes, collecting the license plates, I understand it as a necessary part of the role of keeping folks safe. I also just want to make sure that we're, that we in Webster Groves are operating according to the law, but not oversharing information of.
And we are, and we have mechanisms set up in place where, we do quality control checks as a command staff on our data, on the usage of, as far as our officers go. So all those mechanisms are currently in place.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
And then for the vehicle, like schedule replacement, thank you for underscoring the hybrid vehicles. In my budget book, there was also a couple of other vehicles in there. Were there motorcycles being considered for our fleet?
No.
Okay.
We have motorcycles.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, but yeah, there's nothing on the horizon as far as asking for
Okay. I'm
motorcycles.
this many days old. I did not know that we had.
You never paid attention at the
Every
parade.
year, you lead the parade.
Like, well, last year, the parade, there were so many.
You thought we read it.
I thought they were like from other areas. There were like a lot.
Some of them are, but
motorcycles.
those are the two main ones that lead it are ours.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Such a baby. All right, thank you very much.
Are there other questions? Okay, I do have a couple, saving them. One of the things, and I sent this to you in advance, and it just seemed like a good time. It's not really budget related. You mentioned you've been here a couple of years, and one of the things I know, given your training and experience in kind of emergency management, when you came, you changed a fair number of things about how we do public events. And I was just curious, and part of that is increasing staff presence there. And I was just curious whether 2 years in, if you have you had a chance to look at that and see whether you feel like we're good where we are there any things you might think about differently in the future, or maybe you don't want to talk about that given.
No,
you know?
I'm happy to talk about it and answer that question because I think it's an important question and I think it's always good to educate the community and all of you. So yes, when I came, I noticed immediately because I was thrown into community days my first week. I started a couple years ago.
Welcome to Webster Grove.
And the community I worked in law enforcement for 23 years, I was in charge of all large outdoor events. And what we had there, so if we have a lot here, we had a ridiculous amount over there. And we had some of our events, had 50,000 people there. I planned all those. I led all those. And I'm proud to say that at all those events, we never had anything significant happen. And I'm proud to say that the things I've been part of here with our great team in all the different departments, because I work with all the departments on these events, we've been able to maintain that same level of safety. So as far as would I change anything, the only thing I would change is if I could ever get more resources, I'd want more resources. We do the best with what we have, and we're going to continue to work with that mindset. I know that there's been questions about, does staffing all these events put an undue burden on officers? Well, we try to balance that out as a leadership team in our organization. And it's important to note this. 90% of the officers downstairs, they work secondary employment. They work side jobs doing security and all types of other things that are related to law enforcement because that's their privilege. They have the ability to do that, and that's how they supplement their income. So they do that. So whether or not those opportunities were here or existed here, they would do it anyway. Gotcha. The fact that those opportunities exist here give them opportunities to work in an environment that they're already familiar with their equipment on their radio band. So I think a lot of our officers appreciate that we have those opportunities. Yeah, sometimes they're overwhelming. Community Days is an example of that. That's a massive event. And it's spread out over days, and it's in the middle of July, and it's hot and it's miserable. And I get it. And those are mandatory. Not all of our events are mandatory where I'm saying you have to come in. If it's a public safety emergency or concern where there may be emergent factors involved, and anytime you get 25 or 30,000 people in a community in an open parade course, to me, those are emergent factors. Jazz Fest is another big one. We are going to staff Jazz Fest, and we're going to staff it with the numbers that we determine are most useful. And it's tough because, again, same circumstances. But when you get, 5,000-6,000 people and it's hot and they're moving around and they're drinking, we have to account for those variables. So But the other ones, we don't always staff all the events. The hockey at the rec center, we don't always make those. So sometimes we have to reach out to colleagues from other organizations, and sometimes they take those for us. But we'd like to be able to staff them all. But we have to balance, the officers' needs, what's feasible, and we have to really focus on the most important ones.
Thank you. I
Sure.
appreciate that. My second question that I kind of alerted you to is, I know that for the first time, we have a significant amount of, maybe not the first time in recent memory, there's a fair amount of civil forfeiture money sitting with the police department right now. And I fully understand that money under federal guidelines shouldn't replace other kinds of funding that we as a city do. But I just wanted to ask what your plans were, because I still feel like we have as city council, have an obligation to provide some oversight as well.
I get it, because if I were you guys and then I saw us outside rolling down the street in a tank, you're like, where'd you get that tank, Vince? So I bought it with seizure funds. I get it. I get the questions. So I'll give a quick overview of what equitable sharing and what asset forfeiture is. The Department of Justice Equitable Sharing Program allows law enforcement agencies to receive a portion of proceeds derived from assets seized in connection with criminal activity. In our case, these funds are most commonly associated with significant narcotic arrests. So recently we did get a pretty good chunk of money. That seizure happened more than 5 years ago. And I say that on the front end because I want everybody to understand the way that these seizures happen and the amount of time that it takes sometimes to get that award can be that long. Secondarily, under asset forfeiture, you're always operating under the following premise. The government can come and take that money back anytime they want if a case gets overturned. If a case gets overturned, a criminal case gets overturned, then the civil case is likely going to get overturned as well, and they can come and take that money back. So that's why what you said at the beginning in terms of using it as part of your budget, that's why you can't do that. So I wanted to clarify that. Here's how we use it, and here's how I've used it. I've been overseeing asset forfeiture for 15 years of my law enforcement career. I've been through audits. I took over a program that there wasn't a lot of paperwork. I had to track things down, and I had to get documents from people who didn't necessarily want to hand over documents. So I've been through it, and that's the point I want to illustrate to all of you. So when I tell you these things, it's just based on experience and what has worked for me in the organizations I've worked with in the past. The way that I and a lot of police departments approach asset forfeiture in terms of our outlook on how we use the funds is the following. We don't have a fixed spending plan for these funds, as their primary value is providing flexibility to address departmental needs as they arise. Potential uses may include offsetting future capital expenses, supporting unanticipated training needs, or acquiring equipment not otherwise budgeted. Consistent with DOJ guidance, these funds are intended to supplement existing resources rather than replace them. For additional context, a police department of our size, when I came in, our training budget was significantly below where I thought it should have been. So you guys have done a fantastic job of supporting us and increasing that. Even so, there's things that come up during the course of a given fiscal year where sometimes there's just not money anywhere in the budget. This gives us the opportunity to supplement our training, our equipment, and to do it strategically. For example, having a discussion with the city manager. One of the items that we were thinking about putting in our capital improvement plan for next fiscal year is replacing our department rifles. That's something that instead of putting it in capital, I would consider after discussing with the city manager if that's something that we should use our asset forfeiture funds for. So does that give you a little bit more context?
No, that's very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But can I also follow up to that?
Absolutely.
So because the government can come back and take the money back.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a fancy word, but take the money back. So does that like sit in a pot somewhere until like all appeals or something related to that case are exhausted before those funds become available?
Well, theoretically, right? Because once we get the money, once we receive those funds and they're split up. So let me tell you how the funds go too. I didn't explain this to you guys. So let's say $100 is seized. Government gets 20 of those dollars. And then if there's 6 or 7 law enforcement agencies, which is common in these seizure cases that are working on it, then the 7 agencies split that $80,
Okay.
right? So, but when that's done and the court case is done and the civil asset forfeiture case is done, then they disperse those funds to the organizations. The cases that happen not frequently, but enough to where they put it on our radar are those appeals cases where you see in Chicago, there's a lot of murder cases getting overturned, and sometimes those crimes, when there are seizures involved, and when those cases are overturned, then they'll come back and then they'll go through civil court also. It doesn't always work, but it's something that we have to account for.
Okay.
At risk, what kind of dollars are we talking about we have?
In our asset forfeiture account,
Mhm.
we have over $100,000.
All right, any other questions? Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I'd like
Chief.
to end with one last thing. It's not related to budget at all. I don't know if any of you guys have been paying attention to the National League Central standings. Cubs are in first place. I needed to mention it.
They are Cardinals in second.
They are.
All right, thank you.
The season is young.
All right, I'm going to ask that we next now move on to the appointment of Daniel Nolan as the Webster Groves Municipal Judge. And to do that, we are going to remove Resolution 2026-45 from the consent agenda. Do I need an official vote to do that? May I have a motion to do that thing that I just said? So moved.
Second, I think Emerson made the motion, I seconded.
Make a motion, you do that.
So the motion was to remove Resolution 2026-45 from the consent agenda by Emily, and Emerson seconded it, or the reverse?
Reverse, but that's a math.
Okay, so you all have received, yeah, we are gonna have, I was just gonna explain, oh yeah, we have to vote on the motion. You're right, sorry. Thank you. You should do this, John. We're ready.
All right. Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Hassemeyer,
Yes.
Councilmember Waugh,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Mayor Arnold.
Yes. All right. Now that we've done the things that we need to do in order to talk about this, this resolution then is to formally appoint Daniel Nolan as our municipal judge. As you know, he's been serving in a interim capacity, and he has agreed to continue with us. And I think City Attorney Bruntrager would echo this. All reports are that he is working very hard and very successfully to bring us into compliance with all the rules of the court. And the fact that he is enthusiastic about continuing makes me very much supportive of us making this determination or this appointment. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this?
Nope.
I do. Is the
Yes.
appointment for an indefinite term, or is there?
No.
a
So
specific
it is to
interview?
fill out the remainder of the 4-year term that exists. And he is, where are we in the term?
He started in December of 23, and it's a 4-year, the charter requires a 4-year term.
Thank you.
And we can reappoint, but
That-
yes, there
thank
is a periodic reconsideration. Any other discussion? All right, then. How about if we have Councilmember Alexander, would you call for the adoption of Resolution 2026-45, please?
Yes, I would like to call for the adoption of Resolution 2026-45.
Second.
Did you want me to call for the vote?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm really falling down on the voting part tonight, aren't I?
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Hassemeyer.
Yes.
Councilmember Waugh,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Mayor Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Okay, next on our agenda is discuss the process for provisional judge appointment. I talked a little bit to the city attorney, to Judge Nolan, about this, and we have several options here. One is we can just advertise and have people apply. We can take some recommendations from people, like our prosecuting attorney, our city attorney, Judge Nolan himself. Keep in mind, since the last time we did this, there's no longer a residency requirement for the judge, so the pool could be a little bit different. Because we haven't really had too much of a chance to talk about this, my suggestion to council is that we have the dreaded subcommittee and have a couple of people talk to the city attorney, talk to Judge Nolan, talk to our prosecutors, and figure out what is the best process. Do we want, based on their advice, to go for a full search? Do we want to focus on people who have already expressed interest? How do we want to proceed? I'm not sure we're ready to have that conversation without that. So go ahead.
Were there any other candidates when we interviewed the judges that you would recommend?
It was really those two.
Just those
There
two?
have been others who have come forward now who are fine lawyers who have indicated that they would like to serve. And I think that that's what the mayor is talking about, is that they've reached out to Judge Nolan, they've reached out to John Brentreger and Peter Brentreger to talk about serving, and myself as well. So we could put together a very short list of people that we know would be qualified to serve, and then you as a subcommittee could vet them, determine whether that would be appropriate, rather than a full search where we open it up, there's interviews. That's what.
Yeah, and what I'm proposing is actually before that list is put together, the subcommittee talks to our various legal advisors about whether or not there's maybe a sufficient pool with people who've expressed interest. I'm hesitant to go back to the pool we had when we appointed our judge most recently because of the change in residency requirement. The pool could be very different this time around if we went to a full pool.
Will the provisional judge mirror the term for the
Yes.
judge?
So again, this person would be appointed to fill the unexpired provisional judges term. And they will only act in the absence or availability or the disqualification of the full.
Right.
And part of it, my suggestion of this route is it is our responsibility to appoint the provisional judge, but I think it would make some sense to make sure that the provisional judge and the municipal judge are working more closely together than was the case in our last round.
And that the provisional judge understands
the
expectations and.
Yeah.
Right.
So, go ahead.
Well, I recommend I like the process when we looked at the SMAC commissioners to have a committee to review, interview, and bring a recommendation back to the council.
Okay, Emily, you look like
I'm good with the subcommittee idea.
Me too. I don't like the idea of shutting down the pool before we even have really started.
Madam Mayor, I think this is a really good idea, important idea, especially as we are really working on our process. Processes here at the city. Thank you.
And by the way, I also unilaterally decided that we would impose a deadline of the second meeting in June for this subcommittee to report back to us on process, because we can't spread this out very long. So it doesn't sound like anyone is object. So next is anyone going to volunteer for this role?
I have no problems in volunteering, Mayor.
Okay. Anyone else? I have Emerson and Leanne.
Would you recommend 3?
Yeah.
Two's fine. I mean, at this point.
How about this? We're going to have a subcommittee and I will sort of be on the subcommittee and help you all get organized and get in touch with people. But then I'm going to take a back seat. How about?
To be clear, the subcommittee is to decide the process to get to our pool, not to get to the pool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will talk. All right, so I think we need a motion and a vote on a subcommittee.
Yes, you do, because you're creating something.
Councilmember Mitchell, would you like to move for the creation of a subcommittee to invest the provisional judge process?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I would like to move for the motion of a subcommittee
Second.
for
Sorry.
Process of selecting a provisional judge.
collecting provision.
Second to that.
Is there any discussion? I'm sorry, that wasn't on the sheet, and it's really unfair of me to do that when it's not on the sheet, but thank you for that. Thank you for that.
I really prepare.
All right, I think we can go ahead and have the vote.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Hasselmeyer.
Yes.
Councilmember Waugh,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Mayor Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
All right, number 5 on our new business is a council discussion of whether to fly the pride flag during June for Pride Month. For those of you who are new to council, we did last year adopt, or the year before that?
August of 24.
Thank you. Adopted a flag policy, which is consistent with Supreme Court rulings on entities like ours flying flags, and our flag policy says that we would consider flying a commemorative flag if the request is made by a council member, has to be on an agendaed meeting, and a vote has to be taken. So if we were to begin flying the pride flag in June at the beginning of the month, this is our time to have a motion and a vote on that. We did late today get one correspondence asking us not to do this. And I provided it to you to make sure that everybody saw it. I know Katie also distributed it, almost immediately after it was received. So you do have that as well. I am going to go ahead and make the motion that we do fly the pride flag for the month of June in correspondence with our recognition of June as Pride Month.
Second.
Did we fly the flag last year?
We did. We've flown it at least I think maybe this would be the 4th year.
Yes, ma'am.
But we
But
never
we-
do this every year?
Well, because there was a Supreme Court decision about government entities flying commemorative flags, we had to conform. That's the word I want, conform with that. Lawyer, did I do that okay?
Yes, ma'am, you were spot on. And
All right.
our policy is in keeping with Chertoff versus the city of Boston, and where they struck down Boston's plan because they had no plan. But they spoke highly of the San Jose, California plan, and they refer to that constantly as a plan that would conform with their standards. And our plan is essentially the San Jose plan.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I have no discussion, Mayor, but I'd like to make a statement. Flying the pride flag at City Hall is a simple but powerful statement that every resident of our community is seen, welcomed, and valued. It reflects our commitment to fairness, dignity, and equal treatment for all. Supporting this flag is not about politics, it's about people. It's about saying that Webster Groves is a place where everyone belongs. I support raising the pride flag at City Hall because leadership requires us to stand with those who have historically been pushed aside. This flag is a symbol of safety, belonging, and human dignity. When we raise it, we are saying that Webster Groves is a community where all people, without exception, are worthy of respect.
Thank you very much.
You have your second.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other discussion? I think you put it well for all of us, so thank you for that.
Very welcome.
I think we'll have the vote then, please.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Hasselmeyer,
Yes.
Councilmember Waugh,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Mayor Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander,
Yes.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd.
Yes.
All right. This is not for us. I'm just going to say this out loud so we remember. Oh yeah, I skipped that part, didn't I? Yeah, sorry about that. We're going to round back to that in just a second. I do want to just say for council members, we do need to select a mayor pro tem. And we should have done that at our retreat, and I forgot to do that. So look for an email from me about that. Okay, let's go back to budget amendments. Budget item number 2. I see I'm not having a great night here in terms of running this meeting. Are there any budget amendments?
I don't have any tonight, but do plan on me having some. And I don't know if this is a question for you, Scott, or for Gregory. So when we get that final report on how we did for 2026, fiscal year 2026, I mean, if we were fully funded with all employees, how are we sitting? There are some things that I like to bring forward, but I don't want to bring it forward at the risk of having a deficit spending for the next fiscal year. I believe in providing the tools for staff to do their job and provide safety while they do it. So I guess that's my question to you.
So you're asking, when are we going to finish with fiscal year 27, have the full report on it? That
No.
won't come until we're well into fiscal 27.
Well, no, if I wanted to bring forth $50,000 for something, would it put us in deficit spending for 2027?
For the current fiscal year or for next fiscal year?
Next
fiscal year.
Yeah.
I'll let Mr. Donovan
Mr.
answer
Donovan.
that. He wants to answer it, so.
It just simply depends on the type of item it is and where it would come from. So remember, when we talk about deficit spending in quotes, we're always talking about the general fund. We're not talking about all of the other revenue funds.
Okay.
So it depends is the actual answer to your question.
So I should call you or Scott?
Send it to me first.
Yes.
Oh,
And I'll
He's worried I'll say yes.
I'm about to send it to you both at the same time.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
I have an amendment that I'd like to discuss. It is assessing the role of the sustainability coordinator and taking that role from part-time to full-time.
Okay, so in order for us to actually discuss this,
Mhm.
you have to actually make the motion
Make the
for the
motion.
amendment.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to discuss
No, not to discuss, to change the,
to change the role of the sustainability coordinator from part-time to full-time. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Second.
thanks, Emily.
all right, now we can discuss away.
Okay.
So how many empty FTEs do we have for 2027? Or are we creating a new FTE?
It would be half,
half.
because we already have a half, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's increasing the FTEs by 0.5.
Mhm.
Do we have an open FTE that we could snag for that?
We currently do not have any open FTEs. I mean, there are positions that are unfilled. We don't have any that. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. Where does that sit with where your budgeting is for the FTEs that you need? I mean, do you have what you need, or you in need of more and you don't have the budget for it?
This would be an add to what I proposed in the original budget. We have a 0.5 FTE. There's currently a 0.5 FTE halftime sustainability coordinator position in the budgets that I presented. So this would be an additional 20 hours a week for the full year add.
I would just like to see the dollars that's associated with that before we actually vote on it. I mean, I'm not only the dollars, we're talking about benefits and the whole packet.
So let's back up a minute. Councilmember Hasselmeyer, would you like to explain sort of the rationale for this, what you proposed in terms of dollar amounts? Fill it out a little bit more?
Yeah, so based on what we have on the horizon as it pertains to our comprehensive plan, and implementing that, the stormwater management plan, and the fact that sustainability has an intersection with every single department, I feel it would be really beneficial and an asset to the city if we had somebody who is on staff who could be that point person, who can help the organization understand the complexity of addressing the climate crisis through sustainability measures. As far as salary, the little research that I did, and I will defer to the experts, is in a nonprofit setting about $70,000 to $80,000 range, and that is not including. In my research, I did not include like benefits and that sort of thing. I know that's an additional expense for FTE. Adding that person, that 0.5 even. So that is my rationale right now. I think it's important as we proceed and look at the opportunities that we have on the horizon.
It would be the same, the whole salary amount, because some of it is already in the budget for the.
Correct. Yes. Thank you for that,
half-time
for pointing
FTE.
that out, Emily. Yes.
Not being familiar with it, I was wondering if there's some specific things not happening, falling through the cracks, that this if there's some examples of some full-time, what the full-time position would bring versus just a half-time.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. The former sustainability coordinator, Sean Finnegan, was starting to work on some kind of interdepartmental efforts to explain how sustainability impacts each department specifically. I feel like over the last couple of budget cycles, our incredible staff has identified where, as sustainability is one of our strategic pillars, our strategic plan pillars, they've been able to address a few things, but because the issue is so complex, having somebody on staff that can really grasp how this is integrated with everything and look through a lens of sustainability on all of our decisions, instead of it being like a sidebar or something we respond to as a plan is being formulated. If we're able to address those plans ahead of time with that person, looking at, what does the renewable energy look like? What does the managing stormwater, et cetera. If we were to have that person look at things before and at the beginning of a project, then it would save us time and it would save potentially money. And well, if in the case of renewables, it will definitely save money. And then as far as preventative measures, which are really hard to measure, as far as like, oh, we cut this curb in a specific way because of this latest research. It's hard to say, oh, well, this, used to flood really badly. It's hard to measure some of those things, but kind of anecdotally, that's the sort of thing that a sustainability coordinator could help us with.
Are there other commissions that could make the same argument that there is an interest that they may have or could benefit from that could be realized across the organization, across the administration, if they had a full-time or a part-time or somebody on staff to
You mean like boards and commissions?
any of boards and commissions?
Because I think
just
we've
other
really,
commissions,
I think we've really, over time, I know the original grant, at least I think the original grant for the sustainability coordinator position came out of the sustainability commission, but I think we've moved that more away from having that position be directed by the commission to more as part of just a regular staff member working within all of the city. So I'm not sure that I get thinking about departments. I'm not sure. Every board and commission would love a staff member.
I know,
sure.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How many other board and staff, commissions are gonna come forward and say, oh, well, you guys are giving sustainability, budgeting them to take care of whatever across the city. We need this. What if you did this for somebody for our commission?
Yeah, and I guess what I'm saying is I no longer see that position as at all owned or operated by the Sustainability Commission.
She wasn't even the liaison, at the end.
Yeah, that it's
She's no
more, I think of it more as a position we have like a human resources manager or something like that.
Because I mean, if we think about the different things that we've been talking about, doing some type of coordination across the different business commissions. And what could we do with the different business commissions where the city could support them? And are there not things that the individual business commissions could benefit from if we had some type of,
What you mean?
you know, so why would we then not do that for them as well?
So make sure I understand. So we already have a 0.5 person on board, and it is not a grant. It's something the city is picking up the cost. Okay, so we want to increase that to by 0.50.
Right.
And that's still, you know, the amount that we're paying this person now, or you making is open.
She just left.
Oh, she just left. That's right. That's right. Okay. So just going and hiring a new person for that position, but then we have to estimate how much we're going to pay that person when the applications are filed. Is that correct?
So Jamie put a number in there and I think Scott ran it with benefits, and that might be, are you okay with us talking about that number? Because I think that's more realistic in terms of talking about cost.
So currently, with total compensation benefits, everything included, that halftime position is about just under $35,000 at the current salary level. With the salary level that was proposed at about $70,000 starting salary, total compensation would come in roughly $95,000 with benefits and everything, which would be a difference of about $60,000 increase.
Okay. So now the going back, I guess, knowing that this is going to be a person for this that works for the city. I mean, it's just not for the Sustainability Commission, it's for the city. What do you envision that person doing? I mean, I know some of the things you said before, but her job, their job description should not read what the sustainability want them to be.
Oh, correct.
Yeah. And how can that person benefit the other, not necessarily commissions, but like you said, the stormwater, what we do inside the city hall, you know, paper usage, all that kind of stuff. So that'll be something, I don't know, Scott, they'll report to somebody, I guess, at City Hall. That's where you're going with that, correct?
Yes, current, as things stand currently from the federal level, there are fewer opportunities to tap into as far as grant funding and that sort of thing. But the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 had so much money available for municipalities to be able to access to implement areas of sustainability, everything from you know, what you're planting to composting food waste to renewable energy. So like a full spectrum. I imagine on the horizon, we will get back to an administration who isn't attacking, you know, addressing the climate crisis. And at that point in time, this sustainability coordinator would, I would hope, be able to identify those areas of opportunity for us as an organization and be able to implement, you know, writing grants, running them, et cetera. And additionally, you know, the thing about sustainability is that it, like I said before, it crosses everything. And so this person would just help to kind of break down silo walls, which I think our organization has been working on for the last few years to much success, but continue in that vein to really find where those areas of collaboration are with all the various departments and look through specific projects through that lens of taking care of Earth and taking care of people. And to Councilman Alexander's concern that, you know, would this give permission essentially to other boards and commissions when sustainability decided to write this grant for this 0.5 role? it was because there was no capacity within the city. And when we found a grant, it was Dr. Peoples who said, go ahead and apply for it and see what happens, so that we could build some capacity to get some of these projects up and off the ground.
I got one last question. So how would we define success with this position?
Addressing all of the projects that we're looking at on the front end through a lens of energy efficiency, identifying areas where renewable energy could be accessed, identifying and helping us as an organization and a community understand the complexity of, carbon decarbonization, essentially, which is pulling carbon from the air and, reducing our reliance on fossil fuels. So remember that greenhouse gas assessment that we had a year or so ago? Addressing that sort of data that then we could implement like a strategy in order for us to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, in order to, one day say, hey, we're going to be, carbon neutral by, 2040 or something like that, which I think is Amron's goal right now. But so that, I think, is like the type of success: reducing our carbon emissions and increasing our renewables and increasing our, sustainability.
Yeah, I'm in support of that, of increasing it to a 1.0 FTE, but assume there'll be job descriptions written for that person to fulfill. And like I said, hopefully we'll be able to measure what success that position is going to bring the city. Yeah, just not that, okay, now somebody's sustainability.
Right.
Like you said, have that plan that they make recommendations to the city council, and
absolutely,
and we can see something that happened with that position. In whatever term that.
Well, that would be a question for the interview, to ask the person trying to get the job, how would you measure success and what can we measure it about? And again, in my eyes, the biggest thing would be cost savings in different ways, small and large, down the road. But definitely that would be like, just to make sure that we're all on board with exactly what the goals are and things like that.
I'm a little cautious of putting cost savings as the metric, just because sometimes you have a big upfront cost and it might take a long time to recoup something.
ROI,
but
Right.
I was just curious, do we know, not that we have to match our sister municipalities, but do we know, do other municipalities have part-time or full-time sustainability coordinators? And from, we just had somebody in a part-time, a full-time person that was half-time sustainability. Did you see that there was plenty of capacity to do, a need to do more, to have more of an FTE?
The first question, do other cities have it? I think there's some talks with other cities bringing people on board, but I'm not aware that there's a whole lot of positions like this in most of the municipalities. Our part-time coordinator left to go to the city of St. Louis, who has 2 positions, I believe. As far as capacity, I'm sure you could find stuff to do. I don't have 40 hours a week to give right now. It would not be my first choice if I was going to have another full-time position to make this one a full-time position solely for us. If there was a possibility to share that position with some other municipalities like we do.
Coordinator that we share. Is
Yeah.
that a model that we could use
I
here?
think that's a great model for something like this. So you might see benefits across multiple cities sharing that platform, that person.
I've already had at least one conversation to see if there's an appetite for that. And I think the one conversation suggests to me, and I don't want to name the city because, they have their own internal things to do first, but I do think there is a great interest in that. I think one of the things, and Jamie and I have talked about this as well, is there's leverage in having the same person in different city halls to impact change in ways that we don't have the same leverage if we're just doing it in our own house. And so if there is a way to set that up, I think it could be really beneficial. I don't know, and not everybody is on our same budget cycle. So also when they have capacity to add is going to be something that has to be worked out as well. But at least initially, there's some interest. And I will just say more generally, I agree with the goals of this. I just am really wary to put it in this budget. You know, so far we've talked about the budget in absence of the new contract. The new contract is going to cost money, which is good. It's money that we should be spending. But I worry about adding additional things right now. It's my other pitch for all of us to go out and work really hard for the county for the use tax vote, because that will give us some more funding to work with. But I'm just a little hesitant right now to support this an additional half FTE. Yeah. But I'm willing to work really hard on getting some other people to work with us.
Yeah.
So half FTE is already in the budget.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. I think we probably need really, like I said, I just like to see something and say that here's the goals we want this person to achieve. Now, if you feel that it's a full FTE is going to do twice as much, I'm okay with that. It's just that I don't know. I just had a call from one of my colleagues in Arizona. They saw our strategic plan on our website, and they was very pleased with it, you know. So, and you know, but they didn't know how we were going to accomplish what we had to accomplish. I said, well, you do you and we'll do us, you know.
Chip away.
But, you know, it's the goals that this person will be required to achieve is where my questions are, would lie.
Yeah. I really appreciate this conversation. And I think at this point, with the potential to work with, explore some other opportunities like our inclusion, modeled after our inclusion person, I think that I'll table this for right now.
You can actually withdraw.
Can I withdraw it? Okay, I'd like to withdraw it. And see what kind of outcome we can get to, or decision we can get to with maybe some neighboring communities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the conversation, everyone.
Absolutely. Are there any other amendments for this evening? Keep in mind, we do have our public hearing at our first meeting in June. There is the opportunity to offer amendments at that time as well. We would really, really, really like to close it then so that there aren't any amendments in the final passage. It's the second meeting in June. And also a reminder that it is, you know, very nice if you have an amendment to try and circulate it in advance so that people know what's coming.
I will have one amendment that I'll ask for. I'll tell you all now. We have signed the police department CBA, and so now that we have final numbers on that, I will add an amendment in, or ask one of you all to add an amendment in to cover that expense, since we have a final dollar amount for that going into fiscal 27.
Okay.
All right. I believe now that I have done things out of order, we are ready to deal with the consent agenda. Is there anything else anyone wants to remove from the consent agenda? All right. Councilmember Hasselmark, would you call for its approval, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to call for the approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Mayor Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander,
Yes.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Hasselmeyer,
Yes.
Councilmember Waugh.
Yes.
All right, we have two appointments today, both of them to the Sustainability Commission. They're reappointments. Amana Anwar and Nicole Miller Strutman will both have another term on the commission.
Yay.
Yep. I believe that concludes our business for this evening. Thank you all. Thank you all.